as I've known for my entire life. My family has lived in the United States for as long as anyone can recall. But then watching the documentary on illegal immigration reminded me that most of us are immigrants ourselves. So we did some research and a lot of digging through books and the internet and found where our story begins. And that takes us to Wales, England in 1720, at the height of religious turmoil and the start of a period known as the English occupation. My ancestor, Edward Morgan, was a tailor who had 3 children. However, only 2 were born in Wales, David, who I am a direct descendant of, and a little girl named Sarah. We know life was not good for them for multiple reasons. One was the fact that they needed and wanted religious freedom, as they were Quakers themselves. Another big reason for them wanting to leave was purely the thought of having a better or more meaningful life to live. Edward was just a tailor and wanted more for his children. One day he decided it was a great idea to chase after that ever so fantastic American dream. He, David, and Sarah decided to get on a boat to sail to America with roughly 20 other Quaker families. They landed at a little place called Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Their stay there was not that long. Even though it was 5 years, that is not that long in the grand scheme of things. Life was treating them no worse from where he came from, and yet no better. He had only become a day worker and could not provide like he wished he could. So this was not the end of his story. Family's next destination was Hunter Dan Country in Trenton, New Jersey. They arrived in the year 1725. Edward settled near Banks because he had established a farm in his newfound homeland. He would stay at this farm for the rest of his days. He was able to put all of his children into better schooling systems, the better the family, and made him feel as if he had finally done his job. He thought he was done until in 1736 he had another son named Daniel Morgan. This is not the famous one though. The famous one I am related to though, but we'll get to that later. This was roughly a 25-year age gap between Daniel and the next eldest sibling, Sarah. Edward treated Daniel well while he could, but he could not do so for very long because he soon passed away just 6 years later in 1944 after having Daniel. Daniel, who grew up without a dad, despised the family and would not claim them, and that's all we could find on him. However, he had a nephew born 2 years before him with the same name. This one you may have heard of. Daniel Boone, though you might recognize him for his namesake character in a TV show from the 1900s, is most famous for trailblazing expeditions throughout the United States, but most especially through Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. The TV series about my ancestor did get one thing especially right, and that's his bravery. After the French and Indian War broke out, Boone quickly joined the North Carolina militia where he served as a wagoner. This meant he had to transport goods to and from to resupply soldiers across the state. To tell you a little bit more about a specific battle Daniel Boone was a part of, I called my cousin Ira, and I figured he could help you out a little bit more than I can on this specific subject.
Hi, my name is Ira Morgan, and I am one of Kyle's cousins, and he called me in to tell you guys a little bit more about Daniel Boone, who was our shared ancestor, and so Daniel Boone actually fought in the Battle of Monongahela, and he actually almost died in that battle, but despite that, he continued to serve in many more battles with Native Americans, and actually, interestingly enough, in the French Indian War, he actually met John Finley, who in the war would tell him about all the places he would later go on to discover, but especially Kentucky. So John Finley told him about all the enormous amounts of game, all the opportunity that would ensure prosperity for him and his family. And then that's why when the opportunity came the two traveled to Kentucky together and established settlements throughout the state. Once this had been established, he had, started his life, so to speak. He invited his friends and family to join him in the region, and that helped to significantly not only increase the population there, but also increase the United States' hold on the region and claim to the region. And it's for this reason that our ancestor, Daniel Boone, has a national forest named after him that spans most of Kentucky. And yeah.
All in all, I think the decision to come to America worked out pretty well for my family. We were lower class when we first left and came to America working hard and were able to climb the ladder a little bit. Now that I know my family's history, it motivates me to work hard and make their sacrifices meaningful.